자, 어, 1분 후에 수업 들어갑니다. 1분 후 수업. Okay, hello everyone. So today, because of the students who went for military service, we are recording the lecture. Okay, and then we're going to post it on the cyber campus with the help of our TA. Okay. Yeah. So questions you can even write the on the white on the slides. So that's better technology. When the screen thinks better. Yeah. Oh. So let me know if you have questions. Yeah. So this is the my favorite chapter. Okay. So it discusses efficiency. What is efficiency? Okay. And what is efficiency in economics? That's the first question. The second question is whether markets achieve efficiency. So basically, the basic claim that we will make today is that markets are good. Markets are efficient. Markets are efficient. Okay. So why is it? In what sense it's efficient? Is it efficient? Uh, it is efficient when the total gains for all buyers and sellers is maximized. Okay. So we took the example of used textbook market. So there are potential sellers. So once you take this course, you can sell out your textbook to other students who will take this course in the next semester. So your sellers, you can buy the book. So you can buy the book. So you're potentially seller, and then you are potential buyers. Okay. And then there are benefits to consumers and sellers. How do you measure the consumer's benefit? The consumer surplus. How do you measure the seller's benefit? The seller's surplus. So this total surplus of all buyers and sellers is maximized. Then we call it efficiency. Okay. And then we will understand usually markets are efficient. Okay. And why are markets efficient? Okay, so that's the question. So look at this one here. Okay, so the first step to understand efficiency and why markets are efficient, to understand that, the first step is to understand the meaning of the demand curve. Okay, so demand curve slopes downward. When I ask you to interpret the meaning of the height of the demand curve. Okay, the height indicates the buyer's willingness to pay. Okay, they all have different willingness to pay. Okay, this person here, indexed here, that's the first person here. Okay, and then he has the highest willingness to pay among all the potential buyers. Look at the next person who has the next highest willingness to pay on the used textbook. So valuation, personal valuation of used textbooks I'm willing to pay up to $100. You're willing to pay up to $99. Okay? But you end up only paying $30. Why? Because the market equilibrium price is $30. So my benefit as a buyer is the difference between my willingness to pay and the market price. That is $70. Okay? And you are here, you're willing to pay $40, still higher than $30. You will buy the textbook. So your benefit is $10. Okay? So this way, buyers can benefit from the from purchasing the used textbook. Okay. And let's think about these people here whose valuation on the used textbook is low. So their maximum willingness to pay is only $20. So he will not buy the textbook because the $30 is too high compared to his willingness to pay. Okay. So we have now important lesson here. Market, make sure that those whose valuation is higher buy the book, and those whose valuation is lower don't buy the book. It's an allocation. It's an allocation of the used textbook. Who get the book? It makes sure that those whose valuation is who value it more buy the book, and who value it less will not buy the book. Okay, so that's allocation based on buyer's valuation. Okay, and it ensures that those who buy the book make some surplus. So total surplus is the area under the demand curve above the market equilibrium price level. Okay. Now, yeah. So identities of buyers among all potential buyers, those who value the book more will not buy the book, will buy the book, and then those whose valuation is low will not buy the book. Okay. So we can know who buy the book and then who will not buy the book. Okay, so we can determine identities of buyers. Okay. Now sellers. Okay. Who sell the book? Okay. To answer the question of who sell the book, we have to understand what the supply curve means. Supply curve, the height of the supply curve indicates each individual seller's cost. It's cost of selling the book. When you sell your book, you give up the valuation that you place on the book that you currently have. Okay, then you sell it. Okay, and then he has the lowest valuation, meaning that his cost of selling the book, his opportunity cost of selling the book is low. Okay, the cost is low. But you still, okay, your cost of selling the book is lower than the market equilibrium. So now we have seller surplus. Why? Because you receive $30, but your cost is only $20, right? So if you sell the book, you give up only $20, but you receive $30. So the difference between the market price and your cost is seller surplus, producer surplus. Okay. And think about this person here whose cost is. Think about this person whose cost is that much, very high, meaning that his valuation on keeping the book is high. Okay. So his cost of selling the book is so high, so it's higher than $30. So what is his decision? His decision is not to sell the book, okay? Because he received only $30, okay? Or his cost is more than $30, okay? So among all potential sellers who sell the book, okay, those whose cost of selling the book is lower, they sell the book. Okay, those whose cost is higher than $30, they don't sell the book. Okay, so the division between seller and non-seller is made according to their cost. Their cost. Okay. So it's allocation. Okay, reallocation from sellers to buyers. Okay, reallocation from sellers whose valuation on the book is low to buyers whose valuation is high. So that's why there is benefit mutually for buyers and sellers. Okay, so reallocating books from those who value it less, sellers, to those who value it more, they are buyers. That's why this market created that they create mutual benefits. Okay, it ensures that those whose valuation is high buy the book, those whose valuation is low don't buy the book. Okay, so division of buyers and non-buyers, division of sellers and non-sellers. According to the division is made according to their cost. Okay, so that's why it is efficient. Okay, that's why it is efficient. Yeah, it's efficient in the sense that the total surplus is maximized. Okay, the total consumer surplus plus total producer surplus is maximized. Okay, I want to argue, I want to claim that, okay, this is the best situation. A market, the free market, no one interrupts in the market. No one dictates your choice, your voluntary choice. You decide whether to or not based on your preference. If you prefer to buy the book, and then you buy the book. If you prefer to sell the book, you sell the book. It's your choice. Then it's a market equilibrium. When everyone pursues your own interest, you will reach in this at this equilibrium situation. And at this situation, the total surplus is maximized. It's magic. It's magic. Why? Because you care about just yourself, not others. Your goal is to maximize your welfare, your own benefit. If you're a seller, you maximize your seller surplus. If you're a buyer, you want to care about just yourself. Okay, you just decide whether to or not to buy the book based on your preference. You don't care about others. But magically, okay, the benefit of all the society is maximized under the free market. Okay, when no one, no one coordinates, no one dictates, no one's choice. There is no person like Kim Jong Un who, who dictate people's choices. You make your own choice, but then the outcome is the best outcome for the society as a whole. Okay. And then why is it so? Why is this total surplus is maximized? There are reasons. The reason why it is maximized is because first, it ensures that it ensures that those whose valuation is high buy the book, and those whose valuation is relatively low don't buy the book. Okay, so on. And no mutually beneficial transactions are missed. Okay, so we'll see that. No mutually beneficial transactions are missed. Okay, and no mutually not beneficial no 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 not good deals are made. Not good deals. I mean, no no good deals are made. I mean, all deals are mutually beneficial. All transactions are mutually beneficial. Okay. Yeah. So to argue why markets are efficient, okay. The first step is to understand. It's important. We need to understand what efficiency means in economics, because some of you are from business school, some of you are from engineering school, and then you define efficiency in different ways. In engineering, efficiency means it's achieving the goal in a lowest input. It makes sense. So again, achieve efficiency in engineering when you reach the maximum outcome that you want to get with a lower cost. Okay, so that's efficiency in engineering. Or maybe same is true for business school. Whenever we define efficiency in economics, we care about people, different people. Okay, not about particular person. We're talking about interaction of all different people. So group of people. How many students are we enrolled in this course? We have 100 students in the course. Okay, 100. Okay, yeah, 100. Okay. My question is, okay, so you're sensitive about your grades. Okay, you're sensitive about your grades. Okay, your goal is to get an A plus. Of course, your goal is to get an A plus. Okay, so what if I assign A plus to all of you? Okay, so that's good for you, of course. Okay, but I don't do that because my goal is to achieve efficiency. If I assign A plus to everyone, then you have no incentive to study hard. Okay, then your learning outcome will be low. So you will not learn anything about this economics very well. So there are two goals. I want to make sure that you get higher grades as much as possible for all of you. And I also want to make sure that you learn a lot from this course. Okay. So in that way, we have to care about this efficiency, meaning that the welfare of students of all. Okay. It's not good, professor, if I assign A plus to a particular group of people. It's not good. I want to make sure that the combined benefit of all people is maximized. Okay? So when the combined benefit, the total benefit is maximized, then we define it as efficiency. Okay? More specifically, we define it as efficiency if there's no way to change the outcome in a way that makes some people better off without making others worse off. There's no way. There's no way. If I give better grade to somebody, then it means that I have to give lower grade to other people. Then it's efficient. Okay. So the total supply is maximized under the efficiency. Okay. Okay. So the question is, does the market achieve the efficiency? To answer this question of whether market achieves the efficiency. Okay. Then we approach this question in this way. Can you suggest a better way than market? Can you suggest a better way than the market equilibrium? Let's see if there is any possibility that improves the situation by changing the allocation from the market equilibrium. If there is no such way, there is no way to further improve the welfare of the society, benefit of society, then it is efficient. There's no way. If there is no way, then it's efficient. If there are ways, if you suggest one way, then not efficient. Let's see if there are ways to improve the consumers or producers' welfare. Okay, the first possibility. Okay, so before that, so this graph shows the allocation of the used textbook between sellers and buyers. Allocation. So what do you mean by allocation? How are these precious, scarce resources allocated between people? Okay. So allocation of the goods that are on sale to consumers. Okay. It's allocated to whom? Used textbooks are allocated to the consumers whose willingness to pay is high. Okay, allocated to them. Is it reallocated from whom? The sellers whose costs are lower. Okay. So they are used textbooks are reallocated from sellers whose costs are lower to buyers whose valuation is high. So allocation. Okay. Then let's see if there is better way to allocate. Imagine that you have the power. You have the power to change the situation. That is not, you don't have to necessarily choose the market equilibrium. You could think of different possibilities. You are a benevolent planner, dictator, who can dictate, people's choices. It doesn't have to be necessarily, these particular group of people who buy the book, these particular group of people who sell the book. We can change the situation. Let's assume that you are the planner. Okay? Like in North Korea or in the Soviet Union before, they still have the dictator, planner, who allocate people choices. The question is, will this person, North Korean leader, do a better job than what is achieved under the market equilibrium? Can this planner improve efficiency? Let's see. He considers three possibilities, of changing the allocation from the market equilibrium. Okay, so first possibility is to reallocate consumption among consumers. Okay. Second possibility is to reallocate sales among sellers. What do you mean by that? So out of the potential consumers, there are particular people who buy the book. Let's reallocate. Let's change non-buyer and non-buyer buyer group and non-buyer. Let's change seller group and non-seller group, and change the quantity traded. Okay. First, reallocating buyers. Okay. So think about A. My question to you is Anna. Okay. Anna's valuation on the book is $35. And Bob's valuation is $25. And certainly under the market equilibrium, Anna is a buyer. Anna is a buyer because her willingness to pay is higher than $30. And Bob is not a buyer because his willingness to pay is only $25. Reallocate consumption of used textbook. Reallocate, change the allocation. Take the book from Anna and allocate it to Bob. That's what the planner would do. And then think about it. Does it improve the efficiency? Certainly, certainly that's not a good idea. Why? Because it'll decrease the total welfare by how much? It'll decrease, change the buyer's allocation, change the consumer change change who buy the book. Okay, so then you take the book from Anna. Does it improve the welfare and by how much? Does it decrease welfare by how much? Does it decrease welfare by how much? Right? We give the right to buy the book to Bob. Okay? And then you decrease the welfare by the consumers first buy and 10. Why? Uh, we take the book from Anna, then Anna's valuation is $35, and 35 is eliminated. Then Bob's valuation is only $25, and then Bob's valuation is added 2%, $25. So that's the net, decrease in the welfare is $10. So the main message is that we take the book from Anna to give it to Bob, then the loss to society is 10. In this way, anyone, who, not just Anna, anyone, we take a book from anyone, from these people, and then reallocate to anyone in this group, your only is the welfare. Okay? So the main message is that reallocation of consumers among consumers is not a good idea. Why is that a good idea? Yeah, market is doing well. Market is doing well. Market ensures that those whose value is high get the book. Those whose value is low don't get it. Okay? It ensures the division according to their valuation. So that's all. So that's why maybe North Korea, not why they don't they don't the plan does not know who values the book more and who values it less. You know it because you choose spending according to your own valuation. If you think that your valuation is higher than $20, you will buy the book. If you think that your valuation is lower than $20, you will not choose like your decision. It's not the leaders' decision. If leaders make decision, then he will make wrong decision. Why? Because he does not know every individual's valuation. Every individual's valuation is unknown to the North Korean leader. Okay. Yeah. Now, so reallocating books from between sellers. Okay. Think about these people here. Now, the X Xavier, whose cost of selling the book is only $25, and then he will sell the book. Okay. Now think about why. Okay. She Ivan. Okay. Ivan on the market equilibrium. Okay. She will not sell the book because her cost is $35. But then let's force Ivan to sell the book. Let's force Ivan to sell the book, and Javier not to sell the book. Okay, let's force them. Then we have to give up. We have to give up Ivan's, cost by $35. Okay. So the cost of selling the book is $35 for Ivan. So the society increases the cost by $35, but X, the heavier, doesn't sell the book. We keep $25. We save $25. We save $25. We give up $35. So the net increase in the cost is $10, right? So when we change the right to sell the book from heavier to even, we incur the increase in the seller's cost by $10. Okay, so it's not a good idea to reallocate of sales among sellers. So market ensures that those whose cost is low really sell the book. Those cost is high, then higher don't sell the book. Okay. The reason why they don't sell the book is because their valuation on keeping the book is high. Okay, so they don't sell the book. Okay. Okay. So it's not a good idea to reallocate. So market ensures that, but so it's not a good idea to reallocate sales among sellers. Okay? The final possibility is to change the quantity trading. Okay. What if we want to decrease the quantity trading? Okay. The quantity of transaction. How many units are transacted in the market? How many units are transacted in the market? Thousands. Thousands units of used textbooks are traded in the market. But what if you want to decrease the quantity transacted? Okay, so let's change the quantity of transaction into 999. Okay, by how would you decrease the quantity transacted? Prevent transaction between A and X. Okay, prevent transaction between A and X. Then you can decrease the quantity of transaction. Then you will lose how much? Let's force A and X to not to make transaction. Okay, we'll lose by how much? How much? A and X, they were trading under the market equilibrium, and their mutual benefit is $10. You see, their mutual benefit is $10, and this opportunity of making mutual transaction is missed. Opportunity of making mutual transaction is missed when we force them to not to make transaction. When we prevent transaction, this positive opportunities for positive surplus is missed. What if you want to increase the sales, the quantity transaction? What if you want to increase by forcing Y and B to engage in the transaction? Y and B originally under the market equilibrium, they are not making transaction. Why? Because B is not a buyer and Y is not a seller. Now let's force them to make a transaction so that we want to increase the quantity transaction into 1,001. Then this is a transaction that hurt them. Okay, why? Because Ivan's valuation is $35, and it's reallocated to Bob, whose valuation is only $25. It's not beneficial transaction. They don't produce any mutually beneficial transaction. So they lose when they are forced to make transaction. So any attempt to decrease sales or increase sales. Okay, so any attempt to increase sales by forcing somebody to engage in transaction. Any attempt to decrease sales by preventing people making transaction. You fail to improve the total surplus. We discussed all exclusive possibilities, reallocating consumption among buyers, reallocating selling among sellers, and changing the quantity transactions. They all fail to improve the efficiency. In other words, market equilibrium, it's the best situation because we cannot improve any further. Okay, we cannot improve any further. So market equilibrium is the efficient allocation of the used textbook. Yeah, your time for 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's an easy question, right? So we claimed that markets are efficient. Okay. So this question is asking the definition of efficiency. Okay. So of course, on the market equilibrium, okay, and there is no interruption, right? So, and then there is no interruption, and then in equilibrium, the total supply is maximized. So buyers and sellers benefit, total benefits are maximized. Okay, and efficiency is maximized. So efficiency is achieved. Okay, and no mutually beneficial transactions are missed. So any mutually beneficial transactions are missed. Okay, no mutually beneficial transactions are missed. Okay, here. So this is a mutually beneficial transaction between A and X. Mutually beneficial transactions, all of them are, none of them are missed. Okay, they are all made. No mutually beneficial transactions are missed. Okay, so that's C. Okay. Okay. No inefficient trades are made. Trades between Ivan and B. The inefficient trades. No inefficient trades are made. Okay. Yeah, in market equilibrium, any trades giving a positive gains are missed, and no trades giving a negative gain are made. Okay, no trades giving a negative gain are made. Any change in allocation from the market equilibrium will only result in a loss of gains. The market achieves efficiency. So we are talking about the competitive market. We're not talking about the monopoly. We're not talking about the market for electricity. We're not talking about the market for smartphone. Okay. We're talking about a market where there are numerous sellers and buyers. That there's no dominant players. Okay, and homogeneous. The same kind of goodies trade in the market. So that's the definition of competitive market. And in such a market, a market achieves efficiency. So why markets are efficient? They allocate the consumption of the good to the potential buyers who most value it. Okay, and they allocate sales to potential sellers who most value the right to sell the good, okay? Who have the lowest cost. They ensure that all transactions are mutually beneficial. Every consumer who makes a purchase values the good more than every seller who makes a sale. The reason why you buy it is because the valuation that the sellers place on that is uh, your valuation is higher than that value, seller's valuation. No mutually beneficial transactions are missed. It ensures that every potential buyer who doesn't make a purchase values the goods less than every potential who doesn't make a sale. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? If you don't understand that, just copy it and then paste on ChatGPT. What do you mean by that? Okay, so can you translate in Korean, or so what? Can you explain what this sentence means? I don't think this sentence is quite good. It's confusing. Anyway, so ignore. No mutually beneficial transaction. Okay. Uh, yeah. So conditions of well-functioning markets. Okay. So you should make your decision based on price. Okay. So price should adjust accordingly, flexibly. Okay. So markets are efficient only when price signals what. Okay. So because you make decision of whether to buy or not the good based on the price. Okay. Whether to not to enter the market or not enter the market, that decision also depends on the price. Okay, these decisions are made based on the market price. If prices are controllable, or if prices adjust, flexibly, then markets are not successful. Okay, so price should adjust flexibly according to situations. Okay, so economic signal. So an economic signal is any piece of information that helps people make the better economic decisions. Okay. Many, potential, high school students who potentially enter university. Many people want to go to medical school in Korea is because of these price signals. Okay? There is huge compensation when they are admitted to medical school. Okay, so people respond to these incentives. So they respond to future lifetime income. Okay, they believe that lifetime income would be higher. They go to medical school. Um, um, yeah. So we respond to price signals. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So market is efficient, meaning that market satisfies one condition. Okay, so that is efficiency. Okay. However, market does not always uh, achieve equity, fairness. Okay. If efficiency and equity are often under conflict. For example, consider kidney transaction. If we only care about efficiency, then kidney will be allocated to who value more, who are willing to pay more for that. Okay, regardless of equity. Then it may be allocated to people you know, who have a lot of money, may not be a good society. Okay, so we also have to care about fairness. Okay, yeah. Time for you to think about this one. Yep. So 1 minute. Okay. I don't know the answer actually. Yeah. Uh, uh, because maybe there could be potentially two answers. Let's first look at the first one here. Outcomes that are equitable to both consumers and for yeah, outcomes should be equitable, but it's not quite a key for the conditions for well-functioning market. Okay, and then B. Okay, so we understand that the price signals are important. Okay, so when prices adjust accordingly, so that people make decisions based on price signals, and then markets function effectively. So that's a B. And government should intervene in markets sometimes when markets fail, which we'll discuss that, but it's not a condition for well-functioning market. Government should make only a limited role in intervening in the market. That's kind of a philosophy that we economists have. Government should minimize the intervention. Unless there is some specific, enough reasons, government should not intervene in the market actively, okay? Because markets are doing well. Markets are doing well overall. And you're right to use and dispose of your private property as you see fit. Okay, so you're right. So that's also important. I think B and D are both important. Okay? Right. However, okay, we have only looked at only a single market. So market for used textbook, market for apples, market for coffee, market for noodles. The economy is composed of a vast number of individual markets. We have markets for coffee, markets for everything. If each individual market is efficient, the economy as a whole would be also efficient. However, it's important. Individual markets may fail to achieve efficiency. What are the markets where markets fail to achieve? Why can markets fail? What are the reasons why markets may fail? Think about it. Um, so what are the reasons why markets may fail? So first reason is monopoly. The monopolist has an incentive to raise the price and limit the quantity. Okay, so supply of quantity. Okay, and what are the markets? For example, are there sufficient supply of public parks? If the supply of parks is made only by the market system, about policemen, policemen service, okay? Public safety, public safety. Will this service be enough when we rely on only on market? No one would be interested in providing this service. In other words, there will be not enough, not sufficient supply of public good. So we call it public, okay? Public good. So in other words, so something that is shared among people. shared among people, public park, policemen, national defense. Okay. What else? What are the other examples of public good? Water system. Water system. Water system. Yeah. And the other reason why mountains fail is knowledge. Knowledge. Okay. So what about knowledge? You individual seller, individual producer, care about your own cost. Uh, still, still, but in producing the production of steels, producers generate a lot of pollution, air pollution, and other things. Okay, they don't care about the external cost. It should be the cost of producing steels, especially air pollutants, should be it's shared among people. Okay? So too much of these steels are produced when people ignore the pollutant numbers. So this way, markets can fail. Okay, okay. Then markets fail to achieve the outcome that is best for the society as a whole. So this is philosophy. Okay, so we economists tend to have this free market philosophy. Markets are usually good. Markets are usually efficient. However, there are reasons why markets have failed. So because of monopoly, market power, and public good, and externalities, then government have an option to intervene in markets that fail because of these different reasons. So market power, externalities, public good, private information, those are the big sources of market failure. If markets fail, then government have reasons to intervene in market to improve the market efficiency. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Then next chapter. Okay. Price controls. Okay. So government, okay, may attempt to control the price. Okay. Why is this so? So price controls take two forms. One is price ceiling and the other is price floors. And then we'll see in this chapter whether government improves things when they control the prices. Okay. What is a market intervention? Okay, a main form of market intervention is price control. So they directly control the price. Okay. If prices are controlled in a competitive market, we'll understand that inefficiency is generated. Okay. So markets are doing well. Okay, so market is doing well, and government intervene in the market, and inefficiency is generated. And then government actually making things worse. The question is, why does the government intervene in the market even when they know that inefficiency is generated? Okay, they do it because they don't understand the market first. They do it because they have different goals, not just maximize the efficiency, But maybe their goal is to maximize their goal. What is their goal? What is the goal of the government? What is the goal of the government? Their goal is to maximize what? Efficiency. Their goal is to maximize, maybe, sometimes. Their goal, of course, we have to believe that they want to maximize the efficiency, but in many cases, they want to maximize their chance of winning the election in the next election, right? So they want to maximize the voting count, right? Voting count, okay? So that's why they want to intervene in the market. Okay? So that's why they want to sometimes control the price. Okay? So there are two types, price ceiling and the other is price floors. Okay? What is price ceiling? Price cannot be beyond a certain level. Okay, so it's a maximum price. Price cannot be above this level. It's a maximum price that sellers can charge. Usually imposed for the benefit of buyers. Okay, the typical example is rent control. The rent should not be above this certain level. In Korea, we have not rent control. We have similar way of protecting the renters, but not exactly controlling the rent by itself. But some restriction on the renewal of the contracts. The renters should be allowed to make another transaction after initial 2 years. That's a way to controlling the rent, the way. But we also have control on new apartments. So price control on newly constructed apartments. What about it's for that's a way of controlling the market price for newly constructed housing units. Okay, so it sets the maximum of the price of the housing. Okay. The second way of price control is price floors. Okay, price cannot be below a certain level. Price should be sustained at a higher level. Okay, it's imposed for the benefit of sellers. Okay, so the typical example is minimum wage. Minimum wage. Okay, who supply labor? What is the wage? The wage is the price of your labor. When you sell your labor services to employer, you get the wage. That's the price of your labor supply. And then we put a price floor. Okay, so that's minimum price. Without this control, wage would be lower. But because of this minimum wage, wages should be above this certain level. It applies mainly to unskilled workers. Okay, workers in a low skill, labor services. Otherwise, without this control, wages would be lower. But because of this wage control, okay, wages are sustained at a higher level. Okay, and also it can be imposed for agricultural products. Okay, so rice, so producers of rice. So government will want to maintain the price level above a certain level. Okay, so when there is excess supply, the rice price will be too low. To prevent too low price of agricultural product, government imposes price floor. Okay. To repeat, price ceiling is a maximum price that sellers are allowed to charge for a good or service. Okay. Okay, a price floor is minimum price buyers are required to pay for the good or service. Okay, usually set above the equilibrium price. Okay. Now just think about this particular example, rent control. Okay. So usually it is enacted in big cities such as New York City, and San Francisco also has this similar kind of rent control policy. And then we want to understand the consequence of this policy. What kind of inefficiency is generated when rent is controlled in the otherwise well-functioning, well-functioning market, in a competitive market? Okay? Why do we have rent control? The purpose of controlling the rent is to protect renters, because we know that renters, most of you, who are coming from uh, countries, from foreign countries or from non-Seoul area, you're living in a rental housing, right? And then you should be protected. So many reasons why we want to protect renters' benefits. Okay, so that's why. So there are certain equity concerns. The landlords, the homeowners are wealthier, and they have more, power. But renters are usually, workers, and then low-income owners. Maybe they may be low-income owners, and then there are certainly equity. So we want to protect these low-income owners. Okay, and also we also have some political reasons. There are reasons why we want to appease these average salary earners. Okay, and then they sometimes have strong voting power. However, as we will see, it may not be good for renters themselves. So why it may not always good for workers themselves? What are the consequences of rent control? We want to understand the consequence of rent control. Okay. Before we introduce rent control, let's look at this market before rent control. Without rent control, okay, in this competitive market for apartments in New York City, what is the market equilibrium? On the market equilibrium, the rent per unit is $1,000 per unit, and then at this rent level, 2 millions of apartment units are transacted in the market, right? So at this rent level, that's equilibrium rent level, these 2 million apartments are transacted. So that's market equilibrium, okay? Market equilibrium, 2 million units are transacted in the market. Now, rent is controlled at what? So this is a simple way of modeling the price ceiling. Okay, so this is the minimum price. This maximum price. The price cannot be above $800. Okay, so rent cannot be above $800. Okay, so what happens in the market is that what? Excess supply. Excess what? Excess demand. Okay, so demand is when the rent is $800. The quantity demanded is 2.2, can you see? And the quantity supplied in the market is 1.8. Okay. Then uh, then uh, without rent control, there are shortage in the market. There are excess demand, which will push the price up so that it can go up to $1,000 per unit. Okay. But now with this control, while there are 2.2 million potential renters who are seeking for the rental housing, out of them only what 1.8 can successfully find a rental housing, meaning that 0.2 million people are now with no rental housing supplied for them, right? So that's the consequence of rent control, right? So So this price ceiling therefore creates a persistent shortage of 0.4 million units. Okay, for 0.4 million people who want an apartment at the legal rent of $800, but they cannot get them. And then my next question is, okay, the government is now imposing, okay, price ceiling at $1,200. Okay, and then how many units supply when the maximum price is $1,200. When $1,200 imposed at the at the price ceiling. One question: how many units will be purchased in the market? Supply and demand in the market. Why? Why is so? Because when 2 million are supplied, the price is only $1,000, meaning that it's still less than 1,200. So that okay. In other words, the price ceiling at $1,200 does not affect the market outcome. It does not affect. In other words, it's not binding. It's not a binding policy. Okay? When the price ceiling policy is imposed at a level that is above the market equilibrium, then it has no effect on the market equilibrium. Still, $1,000 is the market price, and at the market price level, 2 million units will be purchased in the market. Okay, it's only relevant when price ceiling is imposed at a level that is below the market equilibrium. Okay, it's the only binding point when it's below the. Right. Yeah. So first question to you is: would you be okay? So as a renter, so many of you are renter. Okay. So my question to you is: would you welcome this policy for those who are living in a rental housing? You, right? Would you welcome this policy? That you have your personal answer to this question. Okay, so yeah, so maybe good because previously without rental control, I paid $1,000. It's a good policy because I pay only $800, right? That's good. So many of you will welcome this policy. Okay, but let's change this way. Okay, so you're not, so let's change the situation this way. So you're living in a $1,000 unit, but now you're paying only $800. That's good for you. So that's good for you. So that's why it's good for you. However, you're looking for an apartment, okay, or rental housing. But you still have not found one yet. Okay, you haven't found one yet. There are two possibilities for you. One possibility is that, okay, I luckily found one at $800. It is less than $1,000, so it's good for you. It's good for me because I pay only $800. That is less than under the absence of the control. Lucky situation. Unlucky situation is that you couldn't find any rental housing yet. Why? Because out of 2.2 million potential renters who are looking for rental housing, only 1.8 successfully find a rental housing, meaning that 0.4 is still finding one. I may be in this group. Okay? I may be in this group. Then I'm frustrated. I couldn't find a rental housing at all. Why? I may have to go to maybe Gyeonggi area or Incheon or say some other area. Okay, because we have this shortage in rental housing. Okay, it's one thing. Okay, if you luckily find one, it's a good policy. But if you couldn't find one, it's a bad policy. Okay. The other thing is that okay, um, you are very frustrated because you have to go to Sogang University. You have to come to Sogang University. So you're willing to pay, say, for example, $1,200. $1,200. Are you sure that if you are willing to pay $1,200, could you find one on the market equilibrium without the control? Without the control, because the price is $1,000, your willingness to pay is $12,000, then market ensures that you get one in Seoul. Okay, you get one in Seoul. But now, even though your willingness to pay is $1,200, it does not ensure that you get one. On the contrary, some other people, your friend, your friend, your friend, and then your friend's willingness to pay is 800, so say 850, 850. Your friend's willingness to pay is only 850, okay? And then under the market equilibrium, without the control, my question, would your friend get one apartment at the market price? The answer is, if his willingness to pay is only 850, he will not get an apartment. He will not choose to get an apartment at 1,000, right? But then people with the willingness to pay with 850 may locally get an apartment. Under what? Under the price control. So now we have this somewhat strange situation. Even though your valuation is 1,200, which is much higher than 850, your friend's willing to pay, it is possible that you may not get an apartment and your friend get an apartment. Okay? But market ensures that because your willingness to pay is higher than thousands, you get one, make sure that you get one, and then your friends with a lower willingness to pay will not get one. Okay? Market divides the buyers group and non-buyers group according to willingness to pay. Okay? According to valuation. Price control, it allocates rental housing by what? According to law. According to law. Out of 2.2 million, only 1.8 luckily get a house. If they luckily found a house, then it's a good policy. It's a good policy. But we don't know whether we are in this group or in this group. Okay, so that's the problem. That's the problem where we think of as inefficiency generated from the price ceiling policy. So, including these inefficiencies, we're going to discuss these things. Okay, so many reasons. So, 4 different reasons why price control is generate inefficiency. We'll discuss that in the next class. Okay. So questions? Okay, so we'll stop here. Okay, so let's see on Thursday.